Hey, it's the good folks at Comics for Fun and Profit reminding you that nobody Patreons like we Patreon. So join us at C4FAP and go over to Patreon/Comics Fun Profit and sign up at a level of your choosing. There's various tiers with various goodies for you. Something that everyone gets at any level is you get to be a part of our Slack channel community. And you get early and ad-free access to all our episodes. But wait, there's more. So go over to Patreon/Comics Fun Profit and check out all we have to offer. We urge you, sign up today.
Aloha! This is Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing my awesome friends, John and Matt Yuan, also known as the Yuan twins. They are writers, actors, and artists, comic book artists. And they're also big fans of Dungeons and Dragons and Mech War. Now, I first interviewed Matt and John back at the Hawaii Geek Craft Expo in 2019. It was now, if you guys want to check out that episode, but I prefer that you guys just listen to this one. This is a better one. But you can refer back to the Comics for Fun and Profit episode 536 that came out on October 21st, 2019, and the Comic Book Page podcast Geek Craft Expo Hawaii that came out in October 23, 2019. That's when the episode was released. We've been keeping in touch with each other off and on for the last few years. For this interview, I just want to catch up with them to see, what they've been up to, and also to introduce new listeners to their work. John and Matt, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing great. Thank you for having us here.
No, thank you very much. And I want to thank you guys. Thank you guys for your friendship, over the past, 2 or 3 years. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
You when we first met, you were so enthusiastic about comics and everything in general. It was you're one of those people that you meet and you're like, damn, I got to keep in touch with this person because he is just so much fun. And yeah, I mean, we're separated by the Pacific Ocean, but online is great. Twitter can be such a cesspool of like horrible people.
Yeah.
But whenever we see your stuff on there, it's like, oh, thank goodness, timeline refresh. This is great. And so it's always nice to know people who are always so positive and funny and enthusiastic. Yeah.
No, but thank you guys. Thank you very much. I still remember when you guys got back on Twitter. I think one of the first pictures I sent you guys was you guys call it shumai. We call it pork hash down here in Hawaii.
Okay.
It was from 7-Eleven. Because I can't remember. John, I think it was you that said, after the interview, he's like, yes, you guys have a 7-Eleven that has that sells shumai, yes.
Yeah. That was like insane. Like we went to 7-Eleven, they had like dim sum, and we're like, oh, this is awesome. And Hawaii is like great. 7-Eleven's here, they have donuts and cookies and weird stuff.
Yeah.
And the 7-Elevens in Hawaii have donuts, cookies, and weird stuff too, but they also have dim sum. It's like, oh my God, this is like amazing. It's like this gourmet 7-Eleven. You're like, wow, like Hawaii, everything is just better. It's kind of classier.
No, and then the other thing too, for our listeners, if you guys come to 7-Eleven, you check out the, like the dim sum and stuff like that. It's very good. It's not cheaply made. It's very tasty.
It is. We were very, I mean, like, because it's easy to consider 7-Eleven like this den of like just really cheap crap.
Yeah.
And that dim sum was great. I mean, like, whether it's cheap or not, it doesn't matter. It's high quality. It tastes really good.
Yeah.
Because we've had some dim sum in LA that was like, okay, I'm paying like, $5 a dish, and this is kind of bland. This is kind of like this is gnarly, I get better from the frozen section. You're just like really disappointed. But then that 7-Eleven stuff, we were like, we must have looked like such friggin' tourists because we okay, I'll take it all. They're like, What are you so excited about? I was like, shut up, give it to me.
Okay, but again, thank you guys. And listeners, you guys are in a treat for this episode. We are going to have so much fun. We're just going to have so much fun in this episode. So now, before I start the interview, I just want to go over, John and Matt's history, incredible history. This is awesome. So now their history, so their first movie is called Death Valley, The Revenge of Bloody Bill, that came out in 2004. They were writers, and they played zombies in that movie. Is that correct?
Yes. Oh my God, it was 2004, wasn't it? Oh, wow. Yikes. That's got me feeling old. Yeah. We had PA'd, we were production assistants for The Asylum, which for those of you listeners out there who don't know, The Asylum is the same studio that turned out Sharknado and all those movies. We were PAs with them for two movies. Scarecrow Slayer and I forgot what was the other one. Scarecrow Slayer is the one I remember. Okay. Anyway, David Latt was the producer on that, and we both knew Stuart Gordon. God rest his soul. Mm-hmm. Stuart was great, but Stuart told David, "Hey, John and Matt came out to be writers," and so when Stuart set us up with the PA job through David, we're essentially brand new to LA. We didn't realize that as PAs, you're supposed to be ducking work. And so we're like, just busting our asses doing all the stuff. And David thinks that we're like real go-getters, which, I mean, I guess maybe we are. We were young enough at that point to be enthusiastic about things. But, so we made a good enough impression, and he sits us down and he says, "So Stuart tells me that you two want to be writers." And we're like, yeah, we've got a couple of scripts. And he's like, "Okay, well, this is your Hollywood opportunity. Tell me, what have you got?" And we're like, "Well, we have a comedy." He's like, "I can't use comedies." And we're like, "Okay, we've got a drama." He's like, "Can't use it." And at this point now we're like, "Okay, let's just cut to the chase. What can you use?" And he's like, "Well, I'm in the market for a Western or a horror movie." And as luck would have it, I had, just a few days prior, had a nightmare about zombie cowboys. And so just right off the top of our heads, we lie to him and say, "Oh, we've got this great script. You're going to love it. It's about zombie cowboys and Indians. It's amazing." It's like, and we just described the nightmare as a script, and he gets this look in his face like, "Oh my God, this sounds amazing." And he gets really serious. He's like, "So have you shown this to anyone?" We're like, and we're like, "Oh boy," and thinking inside, well, no, because it doesn't exist. And so we're like, no. And he's like, well, send it my way. And we're like, well, it's a first draft. Give us a week to polish it. And he's like, "Okay, you got a week." Yeah. And now at the time I'd been working for Bune and Murray. They were the company that at the time they were doing like Road Rules and stuff like that for MTV. Oh yeah. So I've got to work. I've got no time to write. Yeah. And so it's up to John to write the first draft in 6 days. Because then I get the weekend to polish it. And we turn it in. And I stayed up for 3 days straight writing it. Oh God. Yeah. He got the first draft done in 72 hours. Yeah. I come home. Well, I would leave in the morning and he's writing. I would come home, he's still writing. I'm like, "Geez, man, like I've been gone for 10 hours. Have you moved?" And he's like, No, I'm on the second act. I'm good. I'd go to bed. I'd wake up. He's in the same clothes. He's still at the computer. He's still writing. Wow. And I'm like, "Oh, wow, you better like not fall over." And he's like, No, I'm good. And this happened for like 3 days straight. And finally, I came home one day and he is just blacked out. But as soon as I come through the door, he's like, "Oh, dude, check it out." we've got the first draft. We're like, it's been 3 days. That is the fastest we've ever written anything in our lives. And I slept for 18 hours. Yeah, he was out for like the next day, but we turned it in, and David Latt was like, "This is great, but we can't afford the period piece stuff, so now we have to change it all to modern day stuff." And so John, I had to spend another week getting it all taken care of, like modernizing it. So it was astounding. That was like the worst 2 weeks that John has ever had to endure. But it was an education. You know, a lot of people will, you know, turn their noses up at smaller productions, smaller studios, and it's like, look, if you are going to be a PA, you know, or anything, do your job, do it well. Someone's paying you to do it. Yeah. You know, and also you learn more on a low budget small set than you do on a big one, because we've worked from everything from Asylum to Warner Brothers. And with Warner Brothers, don't get us wrong, that was a great set, amazing set, beautiful people, lovely cast and crew. Everyone was so nice, but everyone had a singular job. On the Asylum, everyone did everything. Yeah, you have to, and you're working very long days, and at a certain point, you know, a lot of people can sit there and say, well, it's abusive to, you know, be working 16 hours a day. And to a certain, it is. I'm not saying that it's not. But it is what you make of it. If all you take away from these 16-hour low-budget days is abuse, that's all you're going to take away from it. Yeah. We learned so much of how to get stuff done with no money, no crew, no nothing. That it's valuable in its own way. Yeah, you know, you can certainly. I mean, and if it weren't for, I mean, because the folks at the Asylum, David Latt, David Romawi, very, very nice people. And there are certainly those productions where people are abusive and horrible. Yeah, we have lucked out and never been a part of any of that. And so, but yeah, if you can get yourself onto one of those good small sets, we highly recommend it.
Yeah, because when you guys start talking about, you know, to work at a small company, the first thing came to mind was Corman Films. Ron Howard got his break there. The you know, the screenwriter John Sayles. I believe so, yeah, right, because he was the one that he was the one that really started to bring independent film back in the 70s really front and center, and he also worked on Battle Beyond the Stars. You know, I mean, we talk, but because I watched the movie I think last year, and the story still holds up. I mean, it's a ripoff of, you know, Evan Sunrise, but the dialogue and everything, because I was expecting that dialogue to be corny, but it held up. And then
there was a certain artistic honesty to low budgets, because you know, I think that there is a lot of creativity to be had in limitations. You know, that's why so many of the classic movies are classics, because they had to operate under very tight social constraints, which is no nudity, no swearing, no violence, you know, no blood, no gore. And so you have, you know, like Psycho. Is anyone ever going to outdo Psycho? I would argue not until Silence of the Lambs came along, in terms of just sheer, you know, psychological drama there. And it's because you have those limits, you know, whether it's budgetary or social or whatever, you know, you find a way to, and I think that's why in this modern era of no limits, things have gotten a little tame, you know.
Ironically enough, yeah.
You know, I mean, you have, you know, movies showing everything, and comics showing everything, and books showing everything. It's like, well, then if there are no limits, then how can you rebel? How can you be, you know, subversive everything is fair game, you know. So yeah, it's awesome that, you know, limitations are oftentimes they should be embraced.
Matt, do you want to add anything to what John said?
No, I was just, I mean, I agree that, you know, if there's no limit, there can't be an edginess to anything.
That's true.
There was an article we read a while ago about Iranian filmmakers, and because of the essentially the morality police that they have in that country, the filmmakers were forced to be very, very creative when approaching subjects like homosexuality or
even sexuality.
Yeah. And so it was amazing. And I think John's absolutely right that limits, to a certain extent, you know, can be used very creatively.
Mm-hmm. All right. So sorry. So thank you very much for that answer, listeners. I'm going to still continue on with you guys' history.
Okay.
So and also you guys have you guys also, I'm going to just say co-starred. I don't care what people say. You guys co-starred in the movie Observe and Report that came out in 2009, and I'll touch upon that a little bit later.
Okay.
And then you guys also were in, now correct me if I'm wrong, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this one right, Larry Gay, Renegade Male Flight Attendant that came out in 2015? Okay. All right. Now you guys have been also on TV shows, Rules of Engagement, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Arrested Development, Raising Hope, To Tell the Truth. I want to ask you guys about that one. So what episode of To Tell the Truth were you guys, you know, or what was your thing?
So on To Tell the Truth, that was actually the broader story on that is really amazing. So To Tell the Truth, we were at the time doing a David Cho art show. And it was also before, it was like, I think we filmed on a Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday. And the David Cho art show was, I think, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that filmed, I think, on a Thursday, and we showed up at like 7 or 8 in the morning.
Okay.
Filmed until 3. The Cho show started at 6 or 7.
Oh, God.
We got there, participated in his art show until 2 in the morning, and then drove down to San Diego for San Diego Comic-Con on Saturday. Because there was so we filmed it on a Friday. That's right. Filmed it on a Friday, went to the Cho show on Friday, drove down Saturday morning at 2 in the morning to San Diego because we had to meet one of our favorite Marvel editors
and writers,
Annie Innocenti, at San Diego that morning because she was only signing that morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we were up for about 36 hours. It was hilarious. But anyway, it's like so that was like a monster, like great day. But our episode of To Tell the Truth was twins who work at NASA. And
which was really niche. Our manager calls us up and is like, do you guys know anything about NASA? And we're like, our friend lives in Houston. That's about it.
Yeah.
And she was like, because they want you to do this where you have to lie to a panel of judges.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, yeah, we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And as it turns out, our friend had taken the NASA tour, and he's like a super space nerd, which is great for us.
And so he helped us out. And honestly, so they asked us all sorts of questions. And I'm kind of upset they didn't ask harder questions because we had mapped out the entire way, like our way to work, what time we went, because the rush hour was a little bit less brutal during these hours. We knew which route to take because all we did was, instead of saying our friend, it was us. We live in Kingwood. We go to NASA, so forth and so on. And one of the contestants tripped us up with what's the speed of sound.
Oh.
And
You told him we don't work in miles per hour. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like we deal in Mach, and it's like it sounded like really dismissive and like shitty, and but something that a super nerd NASA dude would say. So I guess it fooled him. It was great. We fooled almost everyone,
except for one guy.
I think one guy, because he was like, "You guys are too obvious a choice. You're out of shape. You got glasses, and you're just dicks. So you're too obvious." We're like, damn. And it turned out to be because the other two sets of twins were, I think, one pair were Hispanic.
Yeah, they were,
and the other pair were Asian, and they were both female. And no one got the real ones. And it was hilarious because they actually had all their answers down. Just like, yeah, no, we test how stuff burns in a vacuum. It's like, dude, that rocks.
So Matt, who was the real people that worked at NASA out of the three groups, the three sets of twins?
The three sets of twins, there was one set of twins. The Hispanic women were the real set. The Asian females were, I think they're just actors.
I think actors and musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they told us, don't say actors. Everyone's an actor. What do you do that's not acting? And so we got to say, well, we do make comic books. And at first they're kind of like, really? We're like, no, we're being serious. We do make comic books. we can bring them in. We can show you. We know we already got the audition, so we're not lying to you right now. But yeah, they were materials engineers for NASA.
Yeah,
it was so neat.
Fascinating to hear them talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just their brief answers. It's like, oh yeah, no, we test how things burn in this sort of environment, that sort of environment. If this is safe, that is safe. And it's like, damn, they pay you to burn stuff.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So I'm going to continue on, guys. And I'm going to, you guys were on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the 7th episode titled The Totally Excellent Adventures of Mac and the D. You guys were the Chang gang in that episode. I'm going to hold questions off later into the episode, in the interview, because I want to ask you guys a little more specific about that.
Okay.
Now, also, too, you guys are comic book, of course, as you guys, Matt, as you mentioned, you guys are, and I've mentioned, you guys are comic book creators. You guys have, your very first comic you guys created was Declan and Chang. And you guys have, for First Comics Publishing, you guys have created Serving Soups, Love Town, and Inspector O. Now, did I miss anything?
No, you got them all.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right. So Matt, I'm going to start. Where can listeners follow you guys on social media?
Okay, we on Instagram, we are,
I think, just Yuan Twins.
Yeah, just Yuan Twins.
Okay.
On Twitter, we are the Yuan Twins, as if there are any others.
And then Facebook, we are Yuan Twins.
Okay.
So Facebook and Instagram is Yuan Twins, and Twitter is the Yuan Twins.
Okay.
But
they have turned us down for authentication every time. So
just look for the picture of us.
Yeah. Except for Facebook, it's a picture of Vernon Wells from Commando, but instead of holding a gun, he's holding a microphone. Man photoshopped a microphone, and it makes it look like he's singing. So yeah,
we get so many people saying, "Man, I love that picture of Freddie Mercury." Where's that from?
That's right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much, because when I first saw Commando, and when Bennett holding up, when he's like, because I kept going, why does Vernon Wells? He looks familiar. Who does he remind me of? And then, oh my God, that's right, Freddie Mercury.
Just sort of a buff Freddie Mercury. But yeah, we met him too. He seems a great guy.
I think he thinks I'm slightly insane, but I couldn't help myself. We met him. Once again, Stuart Gordon introduced us because Vernon Wells was in Kingdom of the Ants. That Stuart had produced. Can't remember if he directed that one.
He directed
I think he directed and produced that one.
Oh.
But he's like, yeah, you want to come to the premiere? I hear you're big fans of Vernon's. We're like, oh my God, yes. We went there and we're like, we're not gonna, we're gonna be cool. We're not gonna geek out. We're not gonna geek out. And the first thing I say was like, dude, you're fucking command. You were bending out of Commando. Jesus Christ, it's fucking great. And I think he thought maybe I was a little touched in the head. Like, nice to meet you. I was like, no, you don't understand. It's really awesome.
But if we could take a moment here, your listeners might notice that we've been talking a lot about Stuart Gordon.
Yeah.
And just some background, we met Stuart Gordon way back in like '99.
Wow.
While working for the Austin Heart of Film Festival and Screenwriters Conference.
Okay.
And he was such a genuinely kind man.
Yes.
You know, we'd been fans of his movies forever. Like, our mom took us to see Reanimator, you know? And, you know, his movies just blew our minds. And so when we were in a position to invite people to the festival to speak, we immediately put his name out there, and we finally meet him, and he's just such a great guy. And he's like, thank you so much for inviting me. And we get to talking. And again, you know, he's one of those people that if you told him, oh, I want to be a filmmaker, I want to write, I want to act, his immediate impulse was to basically ask, how can I help you?
Yeah.
You know? And we told him, we want to be writers. And his first thing was, you got to come out to LA. It helps so much to be able to see these people face to face and pitch your ideas to people with, you know, not over the telephone. And if you ever come out to LA, just, you know, look me up.
Yeah.
And he was as good as his word, you know?
Yeah.
We looked him up, and he was like, I don't have much, but I can get you in touch with David Latt. You know, he's always looking for people to work on sets. And because when we decided to move out to LA, we said, we're going to give ourselves a 1-year limit. We'll give ourselves 12 months to sell a screenplay. And then we're going back home and becoming, you know, teachers or something like that. And because of his introduction to David.
Yeah, we sold something in 11 months.
Yeah.
So
it's Stuart Gordon's fault completely that we that we have our careers, you know?
Yeah. Him and Rita Shao. They both helped us a ton.
Oh, that's really nice. You know, that's really nice. And I'm sorry that you know, I know Stuart passed away. Correct me. I think was it 2020?
I think it's 2020.
2020, yeah.
Yeah. Because I saw that on Twitter, and sorry about that.
Yeah, he was just the greatest. He really was. Anyone who had the pleasure of knowing him is truly blessed to have had him in their lives.
Oh, but thank you very much. Thank you. You know, just thank you for sharing that. You know, about Stuart.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. So, sorry guys, I'm going to continue on. Okay. So, John, I'm going to start off with you. Where did you guys grow up?
We grew up in Dallas, Texas. We were born in Dallas. Went to school. Of course, went to school there. And then for college, went to UT Austin. Stayed there for 10 years. No, not college. We stayed in Austin for 10 years. When we were in Austin, we worked at a comic book store named Funny Papers. I believe it's since closed down. We worked at the Heart of Film screenwriting competition and Austin Film Festival. Not to be confused with South by Southwest, although we did volunteer there a couple of years. And then worked at a movie theater, the Arbor 7 at the Arboretum in North Austin.
Wow. So I'm going to ask an off-the-cuff question, and I'm going to start off with Matt. Um, what were your guys' majors in college?
John's major started out as history, but then he found out that the government program offered better history classes, so he switched his major. Mine was psychology, and at the time, I had planned on going into computer science, and then found out that my brain was not wired for math. So psychology was what I wound up in.
Don't worry, guys, because my brain is not wired for science. Because when I went to college, it was how fast can I get out of college? With a degree, with a bachelor's. I was going to go into drama. Then I saw I needed 41 credits to graduate. I says, no, I'm not going to stay that long.
Yeah.
And I think after you take the core classes like math and whatever, it was like, what? Sociology, 24 credits. Yep, that's it.
For me, psychology was, it's kind of a joke that psychology is that degree that people take because, well, why wouldn't you? It's just so easy. But for me, I lucked into Professor Singh's class, his introductory psychology. He was a very, very brilliant teacher and very passionate about teaching. And he deliberately chose to teach introductory psychology classes because he was like, I have tenure. I can do whatever I want. I could just research and do nothing. But this is where everyone is introduced to the course, to the field. And, his passion for it was very infectious. And now we use it in our writing. And
yes.
It's terrific. So it was thankfully not a waste of time.
Because but I understand because it's like, you guys, it's whatever we learn from college, we still use it throughout today.
Sure.
Yeah. And then an off the cuff question, John, because you went into history. So can I just ask why did you pick history? Or whatever in the
government.
Government.
So history. The history classes are actually really dry and boring. Government tended to history. What tended to be dates and events. The government classes tended to explore the whys and hows, and I found that fascinating. Professor Coffin was my French government teacher. Or professor, I should say, professor. And who the hell knows about the Fifth Republic? Well, I do now.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. How the Fifth Republic was spawned from the Fourth Republic's inability to bring the war in Algeria to an end, to a satisfactory end, and so the various policy decisions, the internal politics within this party and that party, and the economy and stuff like that. It was so great as opposed to just saying, December 7th, 1941, that's Pearl Harbor. It's like, okay, what led up to that? How did it occur? Why was the U.S. response as such? Why did Japan do this? Why did all that stuff? And so the government courses tend to be a lot more in depth, and Professor Coffin was great. Professor Trubowitz was amazing, and it was a lot more encompassing for my tastes. So that's why.
Okay. And then and I'm gonna like Matt said that his psychology helped. So the government, the history, the whys and hows. So you guys are able to combine into your guys' writing. Is that? Can I?
A lot of times, yes, definitely.
Okay.
Matt's working on a series right now. Not really ready to announce much, but it does involve a lot of research into history. So I did take a lot of psychology classes, with along with at the same time, not with Matt, but during my college career. So Matt and I both tend to incorporate a lot of that into our work.
Yeah.
I guess not so much serving soups. That's just our lifelong love affair with like sitcoms. Definitely love Town to a certain extent. I would say actually also even Inspector O.
Yes.
But yeah, like it helps because that way in terms of like just figuring out from psychology standpoint, it's not let's play tricks on people. It's more along the lines of what's really going to grab people's attention, what keeps a thing, a story going and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. No, but thank you. So I'm going to continue on with the interview. Matt, I'm going to ask you this first. Do you remember what was your first comic or Sunday comics that you read?
Probably the first comic that I can remember is going to be Daredevil. Gladiator was in it.
Yeah.
Sunday comics, it was,
like Blondie and Garfield.
Marmaduke, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Never gotten to Heathcliff. No. Our paper didn't carry Calvin and Hobbes, so we missed out.
We got Doonesbury though.
Yeah, Doonesbury, The Far Side.
The Far Side was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was the Fusco Brothers. The Fusco Brothers was awesome. J.C. Duffy.
Yeah. He draws for the New Yorker now.
Yeah, he draws for the New Yorker. But the thing that we love about the Fusco Brothers, and apparently so did Seth Green, because one of the characters in the Fusco Brothers was a dog, white dog, who had this really dry sense of humor, and he refused to acknowledge that he was a dog. He always said he was a Wolverine. I forgot the dog's name. Axel, yeah. And Axel was great. And then of course Family Guy has a white dog with a very dry wit and acts like a person. But there was one great Sunday strip of the Fusco Brothers. And which one was he talking to?
I think he was talking to Lars.
But he was talking to one of the Fusco Brothers. He's like, they're in the supermarket or something. And he's like, should we go down this aisle to see if we need anything? And it's this, it's like aisle 6, and like listed amongst the things, it's like, office supplies,
office sup, pet prods, and
like BBQ.
Yeah.
And so Axel is like, well, seeing as how I am neither a pet and seeing as how I'm not a pet and not in need of pet products, I can only assume that because your eyesight is so bad that you neglected to notice any of the above and therefore suggested that we go down there. And he was like, oh, that's what it means. Pet products? No, I was hoping for pet prods, as in something to prod you with. It was just this great humor, and it was like it always just managed to like just there's another one, Gloria and Lars. Gloria's Lars's girlfriend, and they're driving along, and it's just them driving, and you just see this car, and you hear stomp, 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 and Gloria's like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, what am I doing? And she's like, you're stepping on the imaginary brakes every time I make I speed up or I take a turn. And I find it very annoying. And he's like, Gloria, you've got me all wrong. I'm not stepping on the imaginary brakes. I'm stomping on the imaginary grapes for the imaginary wine I will drink in celebration should we make it home alive. And it was just like this awesome, like the humor is just amazing in it. So to all your listeners out there, if you can find on Amazon collections of the Fusco Brothers, Fusco, it is amazing.
All right, so Matt, I'm gonna start off this question with you. What kind of books or novels did you guys read growing up?
Oh, books and novels. We didn't read. Oddly enough, we didn't read very many novels when we were growing up. Um, it was a lot of comic books.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of comic books and a lot of history books. We were fascinated by nonfiction stuff. So, a lot of American Civil War, a lot of Chinese history, a lot of African history, the colonial era, colonial and just post-independence.
World War I, World War II,
Yeah,
a lot of stuff like that.
not so much the Vietnam War, but a lot of Korean War histories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One comic we read was I think we found this out maybe 10 years ago. Like this is like from growing up, but it was a series of Hong Kong comics called Old Master Q. And we just knew it was the old man comics because there was an old man, his two buddies, and they would just do all sorts of weird stuff in Hong Kong.
But we don't speak or read Cantonese or Mandarin.
Yes.
So we could only luckily there's not a lot of text involved in those comics. They're vaudevillian
in their feel.
So we could read it and not worry too much about what was being said because they weren't saying anything. And so that was like one of the.
And when they did say something, we're like, we just made stuff up. And then we're like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
All right. So, John, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to start with you. What kind of TV shows or movies did you guys watch growing up? I mean, I know you guys said your mom. I actually, so I want to, and I'm going to follow up with an off-the-cuff question. So, yeah.
Okay. So I think it's kind of probably easier to figure out what we didn't watch because when we were growing up, if anything blew up or got shot at, it was our dad that brought us to go see it. If there was blood or murder or anything like just horrific, our mom would bring us to see it. And then honestly, everything else, our brother Mitchell would bring us to see it. So in 1 week, we could see, like, for example, Rambo, The Thing, and then a
silent French film.
A silent French film with a live piano player. I think that's how we wound up seeing a bunch of like Laurel and Hardy silent films. Our brother was like, "Hey, they're having a retrospective at the Granada. Let's go there." We're like, "Yay!" But that's how we got introduced to like Woody Allen, John Carpenter, Walter Hill, John Mills. So everything, everything under the sun. In terms of TV shows,
we didn't watch Green Acres or Bonanza.
No.
But everything else was pretty much fair game.
Yeah. Our mom's favorite story was that when she was pregnant with us, she would watch Gomer Pyle. But our personal favorites, it's got to be stuff like Wings, News Radio, and Frasier.
Yeah.
Those three are.
Hill Street Blues was big when we were growing up.
Yeah.
We watched 30-something, even though at the time we were nowhere near.
We were like 14 or 15. We're like, we have nothing to do with these people, but it's kind of cool.
The acting's really good.
In terms of movies, I mean, oh golly, I mean, like
Star Trek 2 blew our minds.
Star Trek 2 is amazing. I would say movies like High Fidelity and Almost Famous and Wonder Boys kind of had a more personal impact on us.
Yeah.
And then a mini series would be Lonesome Dove. Lonesome Dove is like friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
I want to say Coen Brothers. Coen Brothers are great. Love their movies, and just honestly all sorts of stuff. Streets of Fire has been a big one. We're so happy to say that out of all we've met two of the cast members of it so far. We've met Michael Pare and Ed Begley Jr.
And they're both really nice guys.
Yes, they are. They're totally
nice.
awesome.
Ed Begley Jr. had forgotten he was in that movie. And then hearing him try to explain what Streets of Fire was to his daughter, and
because she was like, Streets of Fire, what's that? And
Yeah.
he's like, oh my, I've forgotten. Oh wow, we're like, how did you forget? Willem Dafoe and Michael Pray have a hammer fight at the end, and the entire time Willem Dafoe is wearing like vinyl coveralls. How can you forget that?
Yeah,
It's like,
our explanation of the movie did not help him explain it to his daughter. The entire time she has this look on her face like, okay.
really
And they're
nice.
singing, okay.
It's awesome.
So, Matt, I'm going to ask you. So, where did you guys meet Ed Begley Jr. and tell him about this?
We met Ed Begley Jr. on the set of the short-lived TV show The Millers. We were
Familiar.
very awkward convention goers, and I forget what question we asked, but we're in the crowd and we're just with a bunch of, stereotypical convention nerds.
Yeah.
And Ed Begley Jr. was on there, and we're like,
And he was a space cult member.
yeah, he was a member of Space Cult. So we get to meet him, and he's wearing like this white bathrobe, and we were like, "You look very comfortable. We're doing casual as well." But when we saw that he was on the cast list, we were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!"
And we would have approached Beau Bridges, but he seemed very busy at the time.
Yes.
But otherwise, it's like, oh shit, Fabulous Baker Boys. Oh my god, he was like so fucking great in that. But he was busy the entire time.
Yeah,
Because he was one of the leads,
So
So
it was tough to talk to the leads. They were very occupied, and but everyone on that set was very kind.
That's pretty cool. All right. Let's see, Matt. I'm going to start this question with you now. Drew, the co-host, submitted this question. Do you guys remember what was your first comic shop you guys went to?
Yeah, our first comic shop that we went to was
That's right,
Lone
yeah.
Star.
Okay,
Huh?
sorry. Yeah, continue.
It was Lone Star Comics, now known as what?
mycomicsshop.com.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. They had several locations in the Dallas
I think
Fort Worth area.
I think they peaked at 8.
yeah,
7
it was
or 8,
Dallas,
yeah.
Fort Worth, Arlington, Garland, Plano, and we went there. Then they started to sort of pare back. We went to college.
And
They finally shed all of their physical retail places in
I think
favor
like-
of just doing web.
I think like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just doing like sales. So
They're purely online. And then in Austin, we went to Funny Papers. Then we got a job there.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Funny Papers,
Dragon's Lair,
Dragon's Lair.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dragons.
which was actually one of the first stores to carry Declan and Chang.
Yeah.
Ah.
They're like, we used to shop here. Will you buy our comic book? And they were very, very, very kind and said, yeah, we'll buy like 3 copies. And they sold them.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Now, I'm going to touch upon that later when we start talking about you guys and breaking into comics and stuff. So, Matt, I'm going to ask, how, you guys kind of sort of gave an idea of how you guys broke into the show business. So, now you guys mentioned you guys worked as production assistants. And so, Matt, I'm going to ask, can you just describe for the listeners, what is the role of a production assistant?
I forgot who put it poetically, but they said your job as a production assistant is professional fart catcher. Essentially, any sort
That
of,
might have been Lance Henriksen.
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But a production assistant, that's literally their job. They assist the production, so anything that needs doing, you do.
Mhm.
So let's say, hey, the star needs a cup of coffee. Get a PA to do it. The
Wardrobe needs this.
wardrobe needs someone to go to the store and grab like 5,000 clothespins. Get a PA to do it.
Mhm.
Anything that doesn't require specialized knowledge and brute force
Mhm.
will likely wind up being the production assistant's job.
Mhm.
Moving stuff, grabbing stuff,
Mhm.
informing someone that something needs to get done.
Mhm.
That's your job.
John, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. You said Lance Hendrickson. Did you
Uh-huh.
guys meet him? Lance Hendrickson.
Yes, he
Now,
is an amazing fellow.
For our listeners, he is his well-known series in Millennium, and also pop culture stuff is Terminator and Aliens. Okay, sorry. Continue on, John.
Oh, well, I would also have to add, if any of you out there do not know who Lance Henriksen is, educate yourself, because shame on you, man. I kid. But no, we met him twice. Once was on a set. Our friend Richard was doing the makeup and the practical effects on one movie. I forget which one it was.
It's like Alone in the Dark 2 or something.
Yeah, it's like Alone in the Dark 2, something like that.
Wait, Alone in... Okay.
Yeah, but we yeah, but I think maybe. But he was like, hey, I know you guys are big fans of his. And we're like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we met him, and it was great. We had a very interesting conversation about Betty Page and what animal was on my T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Because for those of you from Texas or who have been to Texas, you will know Buc-ee's, the Texas Road Stop. Matt and I had bought several T-shirts from there, and it has this their mascot's a beaver, and on the shirt there's this beaver, and it's and Lance was like, "What is that? Like a badger or something?" I was like, "No, it's beaver." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So we talked about that for a little bit, and then the second time we met him was at San Diego Comic-Con, and he remembered us, and his autobiography had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was so great, because we came up, we're like, hey, and he's like, no, you're Richard's friends. And so we talked to him about his biography. He told us some great stories about Bill Paxton. And because one of the things was that, once again, bringing it back to Stuart Gordon had told us about Lance Henriksen on the set of the Pit and the Pendulum. And we recounted it with him, and he laughed, because the story is, so the entire time, Lance Henriksen is playing, I think, Torquemada. He's playing this terrible, terrible Inquisitor. And he would never leave character. And so Stuart would sit there and say, Lance, can you, when you're delivering your speech, can you go camera right? And he'd be like, why? Why? Well, because I'm the director and I say so. Fuck off. And it was like this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And so finally, last day shooting, he's like, okay, Lance, you're coming down the steps, and basically you're going to be addressing this, this frightened young woman. And I want you to start talking at the top of the steps. And as you come down, every step you take, another word comes out. So it's very very menacing, And once again, Lance Henriksen is like, why? What the fuck for? And Stuart was like, okay, you know what? I give up. You win. Just do whatever you're going to do. And Lance Henriksen smiled. Was like, come on, man. You were this close. And it's like, he's a great guy. And we're just reminiscing about, with him about his experiences on the Pit and the Pendulum. And one of his handlers was like, excuse me, you have to, you have a panel to get to. He's like, hold on, let me finish talking with my with my friends here. And so we talked for about another 5 minutes, and then we're like, hey, you know what, we'll let you go. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And great guy. I mean, just amazing. So haven't seen him in a while. I wish we could, though. It'd be nice.
So Matt, I'm gonna ask, how cool was it that Lance remembered you guys? The second time. I mean, holy cow.
Oh, it blew our minds. We're like, because he's got to talk to hundreds of people.
Yes.
Easily every year.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to not only just, because maybe he was just being nice, and he said, oh, yeah, of course I remember you guys. You can say that, and it doesn't mean anything. But then he recalls the circumstance under which we met, and we're like, oh my God, he does remember us. He remembers us as Richard's friends. Yay.
Yeah.
It's just, it's mind-boggling because even when, I mean, like little things like when someone at the grocery store remembers us, you know, hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
we get, oh my God, they remember you. So for someone like Lance Henriksen, whose stuff we've seen for just years and years and years,
Yeah.
to acknowledge you like that is just, it stays with you.
Yeah, it does. That is pretty cool. That really is. Um, so Matt, I'm gonna ask you, what was the most fun set you guys worked on as production assistants? I mean, to the point where you guys go, I can't believe we're having so much fun that they're paying us. That, I mean, even the stars are, hey Matt, hey John, how you guys doing today?
Ooh, as production assistants, I'm going to say it's never fun.
Yeah.
The Scarecrow Slayer was good. I can't say that we had a bad time on Scarecrow Slayer because, again, everything on any set that anyone is ever going to be on, what the tone and the tempo of the set is going to start at the top. And when you've got people in charge who are otherwise, fun people or professional, then it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And David Latt is David Latt's a good guy. And I won't lie, it's hard work. But those were really good times. So we did there was another set. I won't say which one it was because I don't want to dog on anyone. But the director, you can have all the enthusiasm in the world, but a director's job is to make decisions, and if you're indecisive, then things become real super painful, real super quick. And he was indecisive. He was borderline useless in terms of getting things done. And so you would just burn half a day waiting on this person to make a decision. And the whole time he thinks that, he's being directorial by, furrowing his brow and resting his hand and his chin on his hand and, looking at this thing and going, And no, it's not. That's not directorial. That's just being a prat. And he would waste so much time doing that. That set sucked. Probably the only set we have ever walked off of.
It is.
And it was amazing because one of our friends was the set designer. And so, at the end of the platoon when Charlie Sheen is flying off.
Yes, yeah.
And Raj is like, oh!
Yeah.
He's like pounding his chest. That morning we had just quit and we're driving off, and the set director had somehow found a large stick with barbed wire wrapped around the end, and he just goes, oh! As sort of a salute to us as we left, as we got out of there.
Yeah.
So that one, even in its own way, as horrible as that set was great. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to move on to something more fun. So, John, I'm going to start off with, because actually, before I start the question, I'm going to let the listeners know, kind of like your first co-starring roles was in Observe and Report. Now,
Yes.
John, how did you guys get those roles?
That is a bit of a long story. It's a cool one. One. So Matt had the writer and director of that, Jody Hill, who went on to do Vice Principals, Eastbound and Down, and now Righteous Gemstones with Rough House. He was working in reality TV at the time, and Matt had worked with him for a little bit, for about a year or so. And then they came on, Jody and Matt worked on a second reality TV show about a year and a half after the first one. But anyway, so one day Matt and I had gone to the shooting range, and
had shot a silhouette all in the head and then all in the crotch. Just funny, right? Haha. And we had brought it back to the office, and one of our coworkers taped that silhouette up and said, "Who wants to fight the Yuans?" Ha ha ha. But Jody was like, "Oh, I'll do it, man." And it was hilarious because Jody is a 3rd or 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo, which means he can kick our ass just thinking about it. Like, there, whether or not we had friggin' machine gun in each hand, he's kicking our asses, And so we're like, no fucking way, dude. No, no. We could be armed. You could be 30 feet away. We're dead men. So no. But he thought we were funny. And so one day we get a call, and I'm just listening to Matt, and it's on speakerphone, and he's like, "Hey guys, I got a movie deal with Warner Brothers." Matt's like, "That's great, congratulations, dude, that is amazing."
Yeah.
And he was like, and it's got Seth Rogen in it, and we're like, "Oh, that's so great, that is so cool." And then he was like, "Yeah, now I know you guys don't like to do this, but you're gonna want to do this." And we're like, "Dude, we will PA for you anytime." Especially like Warner Brothers, come on, man. And he was like, "No, it's a bit bigger than that." And so Matt's like, "Well, okay, I have to tell you, when I was a boom operator, I did a shitty job. And when we were craft services, we did even worse. I mean, like, for fuck's sake, we pulled a knife on a homeless guy, we're awful at that. I mean, we'll do it, but we're terrible at it." And he's like, "What the hell are you guys talking about? I wrote roles for you two." And we're like, "Huh? We're not actors." He's like, "Well, you are now." And we're like, "Oh, okay." And because apparently he liked us. He thought that we fit for it. And yes, so he wrote the roles, and it was great because he wanted to make sure the reason why our names in Observe and Report are John and Matt Yuan is because he did not want to inadvertently insult us by having made up names mean something like, let's say, dog face or asshole, something like that. He was very cool about it. And so he's very cool guy. And that's why we are that's how we got into Observe and Report. And that's honestly how we began acting. And then after that, we're like, hey, we actually kind of enjoy this. It's not that terrible.
Now, I remember the last time when we talked about this, you guys mentioned about your great experience at the press conference for the release of the movie. How great was that?
Yes. Okay. So it was on stage, and it was great because they introduced everybody, and it premiered at South by Southwest in 2009 in Austin. And it's great. It's great that was South by Southwest because we had volunteered there 2 years. I think it's like 2000 and 2001. We volunteered at South by Southwest. And so it's like, we're volunteers there. We had we helped assemble reels for the movies. But so when we got back there, it's like, oh shit, now we're on the other side of the everything. We're in front of the cameras. But it was on stage, and people were asking questions, and they said, Anna Faris, and she's just so fucking great. There's no other way to put it. Because when she got up to answer her questions, she was like, look, but I'll answer questions, but before anyone asks me anything, you guys have got to hear the zombie survival plan these two have. Because it was a conversation we had with her on set, just because anyone who will listen will tell them how we plan to survive the zombie apocalypse. And so everyone just cheers, and we get out there and we detail our plans. We're like, we live about a block away from an Anna Waltz hardware store. It's got a wrought iron fence around it. We are going to go in there, barricade ourselves because they have all this construction material and everything. We'll build a fort and then live off of the impulse items until we can start growing stuff because they have they have seeds and stuff. And it'll be great, And everyone goes crazy. And then someone was like, hey, how did you get these parts? And Matt jokes, well, the audition was tough. And he's like, man, the other 20 sets of Asian twins we had to beat out. And, everyone laughing. But I mean, God bless her. She like basically was just like, she's like, no, ask, get a load of these guys. And so that we have always just been like, she is too fucking cool, and she's amazingly talented, but she is very generous and very, very awesome. So, and then later on she tried to give away her cat. Like we had a bus shelter of Observe and Report, and one of our Facebook friends was serving in Iraq, and he was like, hey, do you think you get us something for like a poster or something? We're like, I think we can do a little bit better than a poster or something. And so we got the bus shelter and got as much of the cast to sign it as we could, all the producers, Jody. And when we went over to, we were like, can we get Anna Faris to sign this? And they're like, yeah, sure. And she's like, oh yeah, here's my address. And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
Went there and found out that her cat was one of the cats in Stuart Little. And super cool. We're like, oh my God, that is so great. And she's like, yeah, you want them? Apparently the cat was kind of an asshole. We're like, no, we are not going to steal, but because we show up with a Stuart Little cat underneath our arm, someone's going to think we catnapped them, and then we just can't explain that to the police.
So I'm going to ask Matt. Matt,
he's indisposed right now, but I'll pick up for him.
Okay, so when you guys work with Anna Faris, I know you said that she's great and stuff. How awesome was she working on the set? Like, hey guys, how you guys doing today? Kind of deal, or
she was great. I mean, like she was awesome. Like, hold on, let me see.
Don't worry.
She was great. I want to say that. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure that because our phone's running a little bit low, and I just want to make sure that we're okay. She's great. I want to say that she was very professional. I can't recall a single complaint or anything out of her.
Okay.
And I mean, that is a stereotype. A lot of actresses, they say, why is this dragging? So forth. She was fine. She was great. She never argued with the director. She just contributed a lot. So yeah, no, I mean, just a sheer joy. I mean, like we barely had one scene with her. But no, just. I mean, I hate to sound pat, but yeah, no, she was just awesome.
Oh yeah, no, that's great. That's great to hear. So, all right, so Matt, I'm going to ask you, how did you guys get the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. gig? How did that come up?
Oh, that's cool. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. gig was, so this was about, I want to say it was a year and a half before our episode. And
we rehearsed for season.
We auditioned for season 5? I think it was 5 or 6.
5 or 6, yeah.
We auditioned for season 5 or 6. Our managers was like, hey guys, have you ever heard of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? And we're like, yeah. And, well, you're auditioning, yay! So we go there, we audition for it, and the casting director, she was great, said, why don't you two go into the next room and sort of split the lines, because we'll see if we can do a twin thing.
We're like, okay, sounds good. We go and we rehearse for like 15 minutes. We come back, we do our thing, and we don't hear anything from them.
Mhm.
We're like, oh man, we bombed, whatever. You live and you learn, right?
Yeah.
And about a year and a half after that, we get a call from our manager, and she's like, guys, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wants you. And we're like, that episode it's airing pretty soon. And she's like, no, I don't know. They want you. And so we're like, yeah, of course we'll do it. And we get there and we find out that they so loved our take on interstellar weapon dealers that they were like, no, because the weapon dealers, spoiler alert, the weapons dealers die or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want us to die. And they wanted us to have a bigger role than just the one scene. And so the writer of the episode,
Brent Fletcher.
Yeah, Brent Fletcher actually wrote parts for us. And he was like, at the time, we didn't know what it was, but we knew that you guys were going to be Deke's best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the origin of our roles for that. And we were like, oh my God, like because we were talking with some of the other cast members and they were like, you know, how was your audition? And we're like, it was like 2 years ago. And then Brent Fletcher tells us, yeah, we wrote this for you guys. And we're like, oh my God. Like, then we started to feel like super self-conscious and shit. but yeah, like, and again, you want to talk about a set that it was just a sheer joy to be on. My God, that set was great.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the biggest complaint is, oh my God, there are only 3 video games here to play.
But yeah, everyone was just super accommodating, just super friendly and welcoming. People we didn't have scenes with. Elizabeth Henstridge was just so amazing.
Clark Gregg. He was in the episode, as a virtual representation. He wasn't there, but even when he showed up, he was totally friggin' awesome.
Yeah,
everyone
great.
was so everyone. Great. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Henry Simmons, he was great.
Yeah.
So, all right. I know you guys posted some pictures from the set on your Twitter feed. I think the week the episode came out, that was back in 2020.
2020. Yeah.
Okay. Now, John, I'm gonna start off with this question about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D's set that you guys were on. I'm joking. Did you guys accidentally took something home from the set?
I wish we had, because our outfits. So at the end of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D's run, they auctioned off a bunch of the outfits.
Yes.
And Matt and I were like, "This is great because we'll just buy our outfits and it'll be awesome. We'll have some memorabilia." And ours were the only ones who didn't make it onto the auction, and we're like, "Oh man!" And so we called them up, or we didn't call them up. We emailed them, and we're like, "Hey, our outfits are not up for auction. Is there any way we can still buy them?" And apparently, they had no idea where they went.
Yeah,
I think that's the reason why they got. I'm assuming because they were they probably don't have too many actors that are our size. And so chances are what they had got repurposed for something else. And that's why it wasn't there. So in hindsight, I wish we had stolen those, but I would have tried to make way with the entire set for the Zephyr, because why not? There were a couple of things. I mean, that were just. I mean, if I could have, I'd have stolen the shield plaque off the wall. They'd be like, "What are you doing with that moving truck?" Just ignore me. Forget it. I'm just. They told me I could take this stuff. Leave me alone.
I think we have a few scripts. That's it.
Yeah, we definitely have the table read scripts and stuff like that, emails. But unless you print them out, you can't hold an email.
Yeah. Matt, I'm going to ask, because you guys said you had this, a couple of the scripts. Did you guys ask for autographs from Greg Clark? Did you guys?
We did. we tend not to do that. We take pictures.
Yeah.
But autographs, I don't know why we don't.
It's weird. We get autographs from comic people,
Yeah.
No,
but from
that's
other
fine.
actors, we tend not to, and I don't know why.
No, that
You know, until you asked that, we never really thought about it.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about it. Like, there's a lot of sets that we've been on, and we have never asked for autographs. We should.
Yeah,
But we get pictures,
yeah,
and I think that's a little bit more. Maybe we've segregated like our acting and our comic books in our mind and our varieties of fandom thereof. You know,
Yeah.
so as the actor part of us, it's like, no, it's more personal to just have the memories and the pictures.
yes. Yeah.
But the comic book people, we're like, no, we're in full on collector mode, you know, so we
Yes.
have to have the
sign this,
Yeah.
sign this now, you lackey.
so yeah, I think that's probably what it is.
Okay. Now, I know you guys have been in the business for a while. I remember the last time when I talked to you guys, I know you guys have met legendary pop culture, legends such as like Tony Todd, who played in Candyman, Kern
Yeah.
from the Next Generation, DS9, as you mentioned, Vernon Wells. And recently, you guys also posted a picture that you also met the commercial actress Bonnie Hellman from
Yes.
Psycho. And okay, so tell me that experience.
Okay.
Oh, this is amazing.
So we're on the set for season 2 of Little America, and
Okay.
that's pretty much all we can say about it.
All right.
But Bonnie Hellman was part of the cast, and no one else looks like her.
Mhm.
And she is the star of 2 of our favorite commercials of all time, the Geico Wild Thing Daydream DMV commercial.
Yes.
And she's also in the Vroom commercial for the
better way to buy cars.
Yeah, better way to buy cars. The guy gets kidnapped, and she's got like this David Lynchian foggy lens to her glasses. And she is a sweetheart.
She's totally great.
Cool. Like, I'm like, excuse me, you're from that Vroom commercial. And she just lights up, and she's like, yes, I also had a Geico commercial at the time. I'm like, yes, you are so cool. You're like and I immediately just stopped. Like, this is how freaked out I was. I immediately stopped talking to her, and I text John. I'm like, John, you'll never guess who I'm standing next to.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, no way, get a picture. I was like, oh, hell no. You're going to be on set like on Monday, so we're all getting a picture. And she was like, she was just laughing the whole time because I was just nerding out so badly. But she's great. She is so awesome. Really nice, super friendly, real professional, just the greatest.
That's pretty cool. So, John, I'm going to ask,
Okay.
who else did you guys meet? Who else did you guys have met that were awesome? That you're like, oh my god, I can't believe we've met you.
A lot of people. If I had to choose, Henry Winkler. Henry Winkler is okay. So just to show you how incredibly fucking nice this guy is. I mean, and it's genuine. He is a genuinely amazing human being. It was on the set of Larry Gay, Renegade Male Flight Attendant, and we were having lunch, and I think we were just just talking. And he's like, tell me a little bit about everyone. Everyone tell me a little bit about yourselves. And we were talking, and it comes to us, and we're like, we make it's just a self-deprecating joke. We're like, we speak one language. We are not so great at math, and Matt's a really good driver. We are shitty Asians. And, everyone laughs, except for him. He's like, no, you're great Asians. Because he's fucking great. Like, there's nothing else we can say about that. He's just nicest guy ever.
He found our self-deprecating humor to be offensive because he's like, no, you guys are awesome. So yeah, it was just such a nice guy.
But I mean, like, honestly, but like, I mean, like, Ryan Reynolds is pretty fucking cool. He's a really nice guy.
Oh, wait a minute, Matt. I want to hear. How did Matt? Did you meet Ryan Reynolds? Did you?
Yeah,
guys-
we met Ryan Reynolds on the set of Green Lantern.
Yeah,
Him and Blake Lively. Now I know that he makes fun of it, but he's allowed. He was in it, you know.
Yeah.
But we talked about what is it? We talked about the F-22 and the F-35 for a little bit. But he's a super nice guy. Blake Lively is super nice. She recommended a few places for us to go get hamburgers. But yeah, like, you know, they're willing to take time out of. They were in the middle of filming, and you know, they're just like, "Oh, hey guys," and they come over and they talk to us, and we chatted, you know, a little bit about, because we were talking with Ryan Reynolds in front of one of the airplanes that's supposed to be for Ferris Air.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah, you know, can you imagine flying one of these things? And we're like, no, because someone's generally shooting at you when you're in one of these. But John mentioned the design of the canopy and how they had to redesign it to give the pilots more situational awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan Reynolds added to the conversation that this latest generation of fighters, I think the F-35 has got these cameras so that if you're even in your cockpit, you look down at your feet. Normally you would just see nothing but cockpit floor, but now you see like this sort of visual representation of what's beneath you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sort of nerded out over aviation technology and how far it's come. And that visiting that set was amazing because again, everyone was super nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we found out from one of the extras that everyone was scared of us.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're just, we talked to Ryan Reynolds, we talked to Blake Lively,
and the producer,
and
Donald DeLine.
Yeah, Donald DeLine's our friend. And we were just sitting there minding our own business, and an extra comes walking up, and she's like, hey guys. And we're like, hello, how's it going? And she was like, going good, it's a little hot.
Which is understatement. It was
yeah,
really hot.
it was hot, like 80 degrees.
It's New Orleans.
Or 80% humidity and like 98 degrees. It was god awful. But she was like, everyone over there is scared of y'all. And we're like, why? We're nobody. And she was like, well, they saw you talking with the producer and the stars, and they were absolutely convinced that if we talk to you, we're going to get fired. And we're like, no. We can fire no one. Don't worry about it. And we're still friends to this day.
M.
Yeah, M. She calls us Rick and Tom because she was like, you know what? You know, they're not wearing name badges or anything like that, but they look like a Rick and Tom. And we're like, that's fun. But yeah, she's great. But yeah, and on that set, we caught up with the writers of Zombieland.
Oh.
Which is weird because they live about 4.5 miles away from us here in LA.
Yeah.
And
we had to see them in New Orleans.
Yeah. Very briefly met Taika Waititi on that set.
Yeah.
But he was busy because I think he was getting ready for his scenes.
Yeah, he was getting ready for some stunt stuff, and we were just like, oh my god. But super nice guy. You know, like there was no one on that set who wasn't just like extremely awesome.
Sorry, John, I didn't mean to cut you off, but when you said you guys met Ryan Reynolds, like, oh my god, you know.
No. We both experienced it, so yeah, it's good to get it from multiple perspectives.
So how did you guys get on, or able to get on the set of Green Lantern?
So Green Lantern was produced by Donald DeLine, and we have Donald DeLine was also one of the producers of Observe and Report, and we have kept in touch with him and the other producers of Observe and Report. So when we found out that he was doing Green Lantern, we were like, yeah, we got to visit that set because it was Green Lantern. Come on, man. You know,
yeah.
We're comic book geeks. So he was very, very nice. He got us access to the set, and it was hilarious because we kept our visitors badges from that. because I think they're still hanging around here somewhere.
Or they're in storage.
Yeah, but we still have those, and it was hilarious because they were setting up everything, and at one point he was like, come on over. We met Tim Robbins on that set. He's fucking great too. He's amazing. But
Great.
he's like, I'll introduce you to Tim. We're like, oh my god, Tim Robbins, and he was like, and he stops and he's like, can we cross the set?
Mhm.
And this PA is like, well, it is your set, Mr. DeLine. And he's like, okay, fair enough. And so we crossed the set. And then we met Tim Robbins, and Tim Robbins is fucking awesome. Don't mean to rat him out. He did steal something from the premiere party. There were table lights in the shape of the Green Lantern ring.
Yeah.
And we're pretty sure we saw him pocket one of those.
Oh no!
Yeah, but he's super cool. We talked to him about all sorts of stuff. We talked to him about High Fidelity, The Cradle Will Rock.
Yeah.
Which was if your listeners have not seen that, check out The Cradle Will Rock, directed by Tim Robbins. Hank Azaria is leading it, or a lead in it, and it's a great movie.
And John Cusack. It's
John
John
Cusack,
Cusack.
yeah.
Amazing
Yeah.
cast.
I think John Cusack's in it
Yes,
too.
yes, he's
So-
phenomenal in it.
So check out The Cradle Will Rock. It's a great movie directed by Tim Robbins. But yeah, so no, we have not met anyone that we would say is like a jerk or a creep or an asshole. I mean, like we've been very, very, very. I mean, and it's not us just being obsequious. We honestly, I mean, like if I thought about it, the worst I can say anyone ever was just, oh my god, they were merely professional. And it's like,
So the Green Lantern movie, this is the perfect segue into comics. So I remember you guys mentioned you guys own a comic shop. For our listeners, John, I'm going to ask, what sparked the idea of opening up a comic shop?
We had a friend who ran one, and that shop lost its lease, and so we were like, well, we had worked at one too before, I believe, and he knew the business, we knew the business, and so we were like, why not? Kind of our chance to kind of see if we could do it, and do it the way we wanted to. And while we did it, it was a lot of fun. It was Cool Cats Comics and Cards. It was located in West Los Angeles, and it was great because we did our best to push local creators and independent comics.
Nice.
And it actually did really well. We had some indies that outsold the majors because they were offering stuff that people hadn't seen before and wanted, or didn't know they wanted, but now they did. And I mean, like there was one I remember called from one of our friends. He turned out a graphic novel, and it got to the point where we're like, hey, send more our way. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm sold out. And we're like, print more, damn you. But I mean, and we're talking about $20 trade paperbacks.
Yes.
And when you sell out enough to like run the creator out, you've done a pretty good job. So, but yeah, we would sell stuff that we personally enjoyed. Matt often tells this story about how
I'd be sitting in the back just doing inventory or filling orders or something like that, and I would, out of the not the I guess the corner of my ear, I would hear John say, no, you don't want that because it's crap.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, we're trying to, oh god. And so I would go and see John like browbeating somebody like Jack Black in High Fidelity.
Yeah.
No, you don't want this book. You go to the source. Buy the book that this guy ripped off to make his pale imitation. And sorry, hold on.
You guys still there?
and by the time we're still here.
Okay.
And by the time the customer had left,
Mhm.
they would have like this armload of books.
Mhm.
And then about, I would say, anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 weeks later, they would come back and they would say, yeah, so I went to another store and I bought that book that you told me not to buy.
Mhm.
I should have listened to you. And John's like, it's okay. But while you're here, you know, the creator also did this. And, you know, so it worked out really, really well. But the entire time I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, dude, we can't be bullying our customers. But, you know, they read some good books because of it. And so I just stayed in the back and I just, you know, minded my own business.
Now, okay, so this is where I'm going to ask. Actually, I'll start off with. Actually, Matt, I'll start off with you. How
Okay.
did you guys break into comics?
Okay, so we broke into comics because we were actors.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever people ask us, how do you break into comics, we tell them break into acting first. But the detailed version is, so Steve Stern,
Mm-hmm.
creator of Zen Intergalactic Ninja,
Mm-hmm.
which was this great book from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
He walked into our store one day and he saw that we had drawing tables and John was working on Declan and Chang at the time. And he looks at us, he's like, hey, I know you guys. You guys are from that movie Observe and Report. And we're like, yeah, that's us. And he's like, you guys do comics? And we're like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I made Zen Intergalactic Ninja. And we were like, oh, holy crap, dude. We used to sell the hell out of that when we were working in college. And so we sort of got to talking about that. And he's like, I didn't know you made your own comics. And we're like, yeah. And he's like, you know, my publisher would love to meet you because I'm a marketing guy. And so when I see an actor who likes to make comics, that's what I call a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, let's get something together and, you know, pitch it to my publisher because, you know, he's in Hollywood as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so Steve's idea was to have the two of us be superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately we're like, yeah, no, that's not gonna work because we are just not cool enough to be superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, okay, so I got it. How about if you're bounty hunters and you hunt superheroes?
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, you're going in the wrong direction here.
Mm-hmm.
Not cool enough to be superheroes. Bounty hunters are cooler than superheroes. You get what we're going. And he's like, well, then what? It's got to be something with you two because otherwise we can't cash in on the actor bit, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, everyone hates process servers. They're the lowest of the low. So we're process servers that serve papers to deadbeat superheroes and supervillains. And he was like, okay, that's cool. That's great. And it's like, yeah, and we're not cool. And we get to, you know, be like the losers in the comic book and be great. And we wrote a script. John, did you draw the whole first issue or just a few first pages?
I drew the whole first issue.
Yeah.
I roughed them out.
Yeah, John roughed out the entire issue. And Steve took the roughs and confused them for finished art and showed it to our publisher, Ken, who's the executive producer on The Boys and Preacher. And Ken liked it, and he was like, this is hilarious. Yeah, let's do it. And so that's how we broke the barrier between self-publishing and getting published.
Now, for our listeners, you know, if you guys have to read Serving Soups. It is hilarious. I mean, to me, trying to do comedy in comics is very hard, but John and Matt have done a great job at doing that. I mean, that first issue, I'm like laughing out loud, you know?
Thank you so much.
It's great. Matt, this question is for you. I'm going to ask you about Inspector O. Can you tell the listeners what the premise of the series is about?
Inspector O, the series is about medieval China's premier exorcist. He is a ghost hunter of sorts, and he wakes up in the Chinese underworld, dead. He does not know how he got there. A woman comes to rescue him who turns out to be his niece. And so long story short, it is essentially a murder mystery, but in reverse. He's trying to figure out how he got there, why he's there, and who put him there. So we'll be exploring that, and along the way, picking up little bits of Chinese culture and history while we're at it.
And I'm going to ask this off the cuff question. And again, I'm not trying to be offensive or anything, but because you guys wanted to make sure that there was historical accuracies during the story, correct?
That is correct. One of the things, especially growing up, reading various comic books and stuff like that, you would see things that were just so horribly wrong
Yes.
that you didn't even need to open up the book or the comic book and see that this person had done zero research, had zero familiarity that with the culture and the history of China. Now, you would have like, oh, so-and-so, Chinese samurai. And you're like, oh, no, so wrong. Really wrong. Or, you just stuff like that. And, or Chinese, warriors using katanas. And you're like, come on, guys. It doesn't take a lot of research to get that little bit right. And so, we're not trying to make something that is 100% historically accurate, but we do want something that is 100% I would say respectful of the history and culture of of medieval China. And so the stuff that we do make up is very obviously a gag or something that we've made up. And the stuff that's not, we try to footnote and say, so this is what's going on. This is why,
this is anachronistic.
Yeah, this is why this doesn't make sense, or why this was a joke. Just so that, people, hopefully the kids that read it will say, oh, that's really cool, but they provide so little information. Maybe I can go and find some more on my own, and that was kind of the goal in providing the footnotes in the back of every issue, was to sort of spark curiosity for Chinese culture and history.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Now, your next series is called Love Town. So, John, I'm going to ask you, what is the premise of this series?
The premise is magic is real. It is not the sort of, or at least not as it is shown, the fantastical sort of, hey, snap my fingers, make a wish. It is more akin to a performance-enhancing drug. And so, like any sort of like shortcut or, devil's deal, you're gonna have to pay the piper sooner or later. And so, and in this world, vampires, werewolves, and ghouls all exist. And they're fantastically strong. They're faster. They're stronger. They're meaner. But they're a result of a disease, a magical infection, rather than magical curses or anything like that. And so, as a result, they have their uses, but they form an almost perpetual underclass. And the story centers around Lovetown, which is the fictional city of Los Amores. It is it's akin to Los Angeles late 40s, early 50s. And it centers around the police department's only female detective, who happens to be also their only vampire detective. She was infected, as the story goes, she was infected not too long before the story begins. And kind of as a showpiece, they were like, hey, the police force is reflective and indicative of the population at large, and here you go, here's a token, now get out of our fucking face. And the first story arc deals with a socialite, bon vivant has been killed, and the detective, Allie Saxon, was present undercover, but nobody can seem to remember. They're trying to piece together who was with the artist last, who would have been in position to kill him, and why. So it's a kind of I would say a bit of a Rashomon-esque type story. You have 4 witnesses. They all have their own points of view. They all have their own agenda. And they're trying to piece together
what's going on.
Mhm.
But very, I would say, not ashamed to say, influenced very heavily by Matt Wagner, like Grendel,
Mhm.
his Batman black and white work,
Oh God.
and of course Frank Miller's Sin City,
Mhm.
and his Daredevil stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. Because Matt, I'm going to ask you who because it's been a while since I read. Actually, I think the Zero issue. Because John, like you said, it's in black and white, and you guys also have touch of red in there. Is that correct, Matt? I can't remember that.
That is correct. So it's a black, white, and red book. We
Mhm.
originally printed it in black and white,
Yes.
but then Ken was like, "Can we make it in color?" And we're like, "Nah." And then Matt was like, "Let's just add red."
Yeah.
Because it's really stark. It looks great,
Yes.
and and it actually winds up being a lot harder to color that way, because you have to figure out, okay, well, where does whenever the main character is involved, Allie, her eyes are red. They're just
Yes.
completely bloodshot. So that's pretty easy. But everything else, it's like to set the tone, set the mood. It's like, okay, when does the entire scene turn red? All this other stuff. So there's almost an element of like, I would say, film noir cinematography in there. Matt has to figure out
Mhm.
where to put the red, what to color, because it's very important.
Um,
And you can't get, you have to vary it a little bit, but you can't get too creative, because then you get into shades of pink,
Yes.
and that just kind of that wrecks the mood if you're not real careful.
Mhm. Yeah.
No pastels. And so like where to put that spot is always. And at first I thought it was going to be easy. Oh, red, one color, and
Yeah.
Allie's eyes. That'll always be the focus. And no, and it's not always. Not always. Sometimes it's the entire room. Sometimes it's this other person, and what do you do?
Mhm.
But I think Matt did a really good job on figuring that out and making the decisions on that. Thank you.
Now the thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, this was collected, the first 5 issues, right? Like a Zero issue,
Yes.
that's 1 through 4, right?
That's correct.
Collected in a hardcover, came out. I want to say, I think last year.
No, I think it was 2019.
Okay.
2019, I think. Yeah.
Okay, and it also includes a new 16-page story. Is that correct?
Yes. The hardcover trade paperback, or a hardcover, hardcover trade paperback is a contradiction in terms.
Yeah.
The hardcover collection, volume 1, collects the introductory issue number 0, and then 1 through 4. So it's 5 issues. There is a 16-page backup that deals kind of with the aftermath of the entire first story arc. It's just a general little bonus. It introduces another character. His name is he's another Lovetown detective. His name is Faulkner. Whether or not he is a character that will be revisited because he's kind of cool looking. But generally speaking, it is just meant to, like, if someone had collected like the first 5 monthly issues, if they were getting the hardcover, to give them something extra for their time and effort, because we didn't want, because we've done that now with Serving Soups, and Lovetown, and do we do it with Inspector O? We didn't do it with Inspector O, but the trade paper, the trades, any collection that we have, we try to put in extra material just because, we want. Oh, yeah, Inspector did. Yeah. Inspector, I think, had one that had issues. Had one of an introductory story. It was the introductory story. So it was like I think it was sold through conventions only, and then was put in the trade paper, the collected hardback. But we try to put something in to kind of reward completionists. If someone's like, oh man, but because we feel bad because, A, money's not easy to come by these days, and B, when you get something, we want to get something for your value, and so that's why the hardcover is like, okay,
we're going to put in these extra stories. We're going to put in like, little behind the scenes stuff, because whether you're waiting for the trade, in which case your patience should be rewarded, or you bought all the issues and then you bought the trade, your hard-earned money should be rewarded. We just feel like giving a little bit extra to whoever buys that thing.
That is pretty cool. Off the cuff question for Inspector O and Love Town. Will we see any future stories in the near future?
Yes. So Inspector O right now is halfway through volume 2. There are a couple of other things that Year of the Rat is almost done, which is a little bit behind. We should be getting to the Year of the Tiger. Yeah, we should be getting Year of the Tiger. But it's strange because we have these year of the animals. So the first one we did Year of the Dog. Second one is Year of the Pig. They're little 8-page stories. They're very short. They focus on one of the Chinese zodiac animals. But man, it is, people sit there and say, oh, 4 pages, 5 pages, that's easy. Try telling a story in that short of period of time, and it is murder. So those actually ironically fell behind further than any of our longer form stuff. But we do intend to have all the zodiac animals before too long. And then Lovetown, oddly enough, not as we speak, focusing entirely on this, but once we're through with this, we will be going back to getting another special done. This one will focus more on Allie's captain, Hiram Subs Moore. It is I believe a 24-page issue that will then serve as a lead-in to the next story arc. So once again, it will be a standalone special that you can read on its own, and it also serves as a lead-in to the next story arc, which will be, I think, another 4 to 5 issues.
Nice.
But yeah, and that one has already been. It's definitely been outlined, and I think maybe the first couple of issues have already been scripted out. So, yeah, the Lovetown, it's been pretty. The writing process has been pretty awful because 2020, over the course of late 2019 and all through 2020, I outlined it probably about 6 or 7 times. I have drawn, I want to say, at least 7 or 8 pages that will not be used because the story changed so radically. And finally, earlier this year, or no, late last year, late 2021, finally settled on a story that I liked because I had a general theme that I wanted to follow, but it's like, cut this, cut that. Finally settled on it. It's like, okay, great, awesome. And so getting to work on that. So that we're really excited about it. People probably think that we're like terrible writers, but in between, we had a couple of screenplays that we were taking care of, currently dealing with that. And so, yeah, like it's great. We're no complaints. It's just, we have a lot of stuff that we have to do. And so it's like, sometimes it's like, hey, project A, okay. Project B falls behind. No, I'm going to pick up project B. Okay. But then project C crops up. We're like, oh, heck, project A needs corrections. It's there's 2 of us, but we probably have enough work for like 4 or 5 people.
All right. So listeners, I'm slowly wrapping things up, and there's one story I want the Yuan twins to tell you guys, and Matt, I'm gonna ask you the question: how did you guys get a picture with legendary Frank Miller?
So this was a few years after Observe and Report.
I think it was like 2010.
Yeah, it's 2010.
I think.
And we were still on Warner Brothers list for like, super cool people to invite to, parties and stuff like that. Their marketing department was being very kind to us, and there was a party at San Diego Comic-Con
Mm-hmm.
that we attended, and we're not great party people. We hide in the corner and then just sort of disappear.
Mm-hmm.
But we're hanging out, and we see this guy walk in, all in black, wearing all black. He's got this great fedora, and he's flanked by these two absolute monsters. And we're like, oh my God, that could only be one man.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, it is the one and only Frank Miller. We're like, oh my God. Now, we could have like paid for tickets, stood in line at a convention. Hey, meet Frank Miller for $75, get a picture.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't want to do that. It's I'm not saying that it's like any less of an experience, but this was something that just, not everyone can get in their lives. And so we're like,
Yes.
oh crap, we've got to get a picture with them. But man, those gorillas were really...
They were huge, and they were watching the, if you ever see like some sort of predatory animal like looking at a herd,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, I could chase you down and murder you, but I'm choosing not to right about this time. That's what these guys look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, shit, what do we do? And I was like, fuck, it's, maybe we can sneak a picture. And Matt's like, no, we got to get a picture. And I was like, how? Those guys are going to fucking murder us.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt's like, no. You can be the first person to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be the second.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, fine, let's do it. And so we go up and we're like, excuse me, Mr. Miller, we are really great fans of your work.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind it if we took a picture with you?
Mm-hmm.
And the minute that last word leaves Matt's mouth,
Mm-hmm.
this guard, our lives flash before our eyes, because the guard is just looming over us, about to like break us into matchsticks. And it's awesome because Frank Miller doesn't say a word.
He does this completely awesome Frank Miller thing, which is he sort of very casually, like, shakes his head and like waves the guard off like a Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. It was like more like a total Marlon Brando Vito Corleone move. It's just like, no. He's like, yeah, come on. And so Matt gets next to him. I take a picture with our cruddy BlackBerry. We had a BlackBerry at the time. Take a picture with him, and we're like, thank you so much. And we're not going to press it. I'm not, it's like, Matt, good enough. We get the fuck out of there.
Yes.
And sure enough, right after we leave, after we are well out of arm's reach of these gorillas, another person's like, Mr. Miller, and the guard just immediately face palms the dude. It's like, Mr. Miller's not taking any pictures, and shoves him away. And we're like, oh wow, that could have been us. We could have been killed. But then in 2021, last year, Frank Miller was at Torpedo Con in LA.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, you know what? This time we're gonna buy the tickets.
Yes.
We're gonna get the thing, and we got a book, and we got the collected Electra Assassin hardcover. Beautiful book, because Bill Sienkiewicz was going to be there. Frank Miller was going to be there. We're like, hey, that was a series. Or two great tastes taste great together.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we got in line for Frank Miller, and we got in line really early. So it's like, I don't think we waited, but maybe an hour and a half or so. Not very long at all. And we get in, we get him to sign it, and we're like, you don't remember us, but you saved our lives. And he's like, huh? And we're like, yeah. We had to show him that picture. We're like, and we told him the story, and he just smiled. He's like, well, I'm glad I didn't kill you. And we were, I mean, like, it was great. He is, we have not interacted with him beyond that, but he seems like a very, very awesome fellow. So
as we've said, he didn't have us killed.
Yeah. So one of the best memories ever.
So cool. I mean, that is so awesome.
And you know, honestly, to I would say to your listeners as well, most celebrities, comics, movies, whatever,
Mhm.
most of them tend to be pretty cool.
Mhm.
You know, now don't be asking for their phone number or anything, or saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, you know, can you don't impose." But most of them are very, very happy to, you know, say sure, you know, I'll take a picture, whatever. And if they decline,
Mhm.
which we have never had that happen, we've been very lucky. But if they decline, you know, remember that they may be having a rough day, or they may be on a time, you know, they may be having under a time crunch, they may be going somewhere or doing something. So to all you fans out there, because Matt and I are fans ourselves, don't take it personally if one of your heroes tells you no. You know,
Mhm.
they may be busy, they may have other things going on, they may be having a bad day.
Mhm.
You know, I know, but for from personal experience, most of the people that we have met, both in comics and in the movies, they're very happy to interact with their fans. So don't be too afraid to say hello
Mhm.
because the worst they can say is no, right?
Yeah.
You know, and so if you want to get that selfie, feel free to ask. Like I
Mhm.
said, the worst they can say is no.
Mhm. Sorry, man. I'm going to ask the off the cuff question. How how was how exciting was it to get a picture with Frank Miller?
The excitement didn't hit till after,
Mhm.
because I mean, no, seriously, those guards were gigantic and they were scary.
Mhm.
I was just so pumped on adrenaline of I'm not dead yet, that it was taking all of my effort just to stay still so that the picture wouldn't be out of focus, right?
Mhm.
And it wasn't until after John and I were like running away that I was like, holy shit, we got a picture with Frank Miller. This is so amazing. But at the time, it was just, it's a blur. I couldn't even tell you what I felt at the time, because
Mhm.
I think I was just too shocked that I wasn't flying through space off of a balcony.
But to be fair, we are incredibly, as our friends put it, we're incredibly easy to amuse and to excite.
Mhm.
And that's not denigrating or diminishing that experience with Frank Miller at all. But Matt and I get excited whenever we meet any of our childhood superheroes, and we have been blessed to meet a bunch of them. I mean, but like, you know, I think we met Thomas Jane once. We
Yes.
fucking flipped out. He's amazing, you know.
Mhm.
Bill Sienkiewicz is
Yeah,
an amazing guy. He
yeah.
is
Mhm.
so friendly and like ridiculously talented. He should not exist. He's
Yeah.
like, that much talent should not be in one man's hands.
And God, what was it? The other day, Roz Chast, the New Yorker cartoonist,
Mhm.
she had a cartoon
Mhm.
talking about how she hates this one soda that tastes like cherry cough syrup, and that she hopes this isn't what she hopes this is not what space tastes like.
Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
And we just put down a really quick little comment about how we visited China back in like 1994. We went on a tour of southern China from Hong Kong, and the food was great, but the orange soda tasted like gasoline.
Mhm.
And we still drank all of it. You know, it's just a quick little comment. It's Instagram, you know, you don't really expect a lot. But then, you know, she posted a bunch of laughing emojis, and that just kind of made our day, because it's like, holy shit, Roz Chast like acknowledged that we exist. We are still very much of that mindset that like, oh my God, we just met insert
Mhm.
person's name. You know, it's like we got tons of those stories because every one of them is just kind of branded into our brains.
Mhm.
We still geek out on people, just like on a, we don't care. We just we've been in enough films and TV shows. I think we've earned the right to geek out.
Oh yes. Mhm. Sorry, two more questions, and then I'll wrap this up, because because when you guys said about meeting people and stuff, because you guys went to WonderCon this past weekend, correct?
That's correct.
You guys took a picture with the two famous stoners in movie history, correct?
Yes.
So So for you kids out there who think that Pineapple Express was the original stoner comedy, that is not the case. You get to go back to Cheech and Chong and Up in Smoke. They are the original stoner comedians, and meeting them was the fulfillment of a lifetime, because we've been actually fans of theirs since we've been like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
The very first VHS tape that our family purchased was Up in Smoke. Second was Alien. So when we told our mother that we were,
Okay. So something about quick about our mother. If we sit there and we say, oh, we're in a movie with Seth Rogen or Anna Faris, she doesn't know too many. She's like, oh, that's nice, that's cool, it's great, whatever. She's happy for us, but yeah, it's like, does she really care? She's happy for us. She's happy that we're meeting these new people. But we mentioned that we're going to be meeting Cheech and Chong, and she's like, "Oh my god, they are so great! Make sure to get a picture with them because they are so funny." And we're like, "Definitely." And it was great because our friend Kevin at Z2. Z2 Comics is publishing a Cheech and Chong graphic novel. It's coming out later on April 20th.
420.
Yeah. And anyway, he was like, "You want to meet Cheech and Chong?" And we're like, "Are you fucking kidding us?" Yes, we do. And so he got us to more or less ahead of the line. But the thing is that it was really nice because they were discouraging taking photos because they're just here to sign, and they were only going to be there for about 45 minutes signing posters because they had a panel to get to at 6 o'clock or 6:15, and they're only going to be starting at 5:30. But anyway, it's like, yay, we're part of the group, and so we got a picture with them, and and they were great,
super gracious, really nice. But then I was like, our mother was so excited that we have to get something for her. And then I remembered, oh yeah, we have the technology there. I've got a camera in my hand. So I knelt down and I was like, I would, Mr. Chong, can I ask you a favor? He's like, yeah, sure, man. What do you want? I was like, look, our mother's a fan of yours. She's the one who introduced us to your movies. Could you please just, shoot a quick video telling her hello? And as soon as he hears that it's our mother, he instantly is just like, oh yeah, of course, man. And almost you expect someone of his stature to just be like, hello, my name's Tommy Chong, and your son said for me to say hello, and that's it, right? No, he does this really long video for our mom saying hello, and he tells a few jokes, and then it goes on for a few minutes, and you're like, oh my god, that was so nice, like he didn't need to do that. He didn't need to take the time, and he did, because he is again such a gracious, kind, and ridiculously talented individual.
Cheech Marin, great guy,
super nice.
I mean,
oh my god.
So yeah, both of them, one of our friends, of course, called up and they were like, "Hey, what was it like?" And we told them it was great. And one of them was like, "Yeah, well, they always say don't meet your heroes, but sounds like it's a good thing you did." We're like, "Oh yeah, these guys are awesome." So yeah,
if you get a chance to meet those two,
they're really great people. Yes, really, really great guys.
Sorry, one more question before final question. What was their reaction when you guys told them, "Hey, man, we've been fans since we were 3, and our first VHS our mom bought was your movie"? What was their reaction?
Hey, I seem to remember they were really amused that it was our mom and dad that got us into their humor.
Yeah.
Because I think Cheech asked. He kind of looked askance at us and was like, "Where are you guys from?" And Matt was like, "Texas. We grew up in Dallas." And he was like, "Ah, okay, yeah, I should have figured it out. The y'all dead giveaway." But they seemed really amused and kind of happy that it's like, you got really cool parents. They're like, "Yeah, we do." The best.
Because I'm going to say, because if I remember, because when I saw Up in Smoke, it was on HBO, and my memory's not that great, but because if I remember correctly, that movie was really looked down because it, I guess like promoted marijuana and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was just a funny movie because that was part of, because right, they that was their routine of stand-up comics, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they were actually in a band first.
And apparently that was part of their banter.
Yeah, that was part of like just sort of their shtick was to tell jokes between songs. But according to Tommy Chong, they had this one set where they get up on stage and they just start doing their thing, and they never played a single song. And it was just their comedy routine. And even though they didn't play a single song, they still won the Battle of the Bands.
Wow.
So they were like, well, maybe this is what we need to be doing instead of the music.
Yeah.
We're personally glad they didn't give up the music because, I mean, the world would be a much poorer place without Earache My Eye.
All right, so John and Matt, I'm gonna ask the closing question. I'm gonna start off with you, John, and then Matt. Also, please add on anything to it. Any closing words to our listeners?
In terms of closing words to you guys out there, everyone, listening, whatever it is you're doing, do to the best of your abilities. And if it's not what you want to be doing, try to use what you are doing to further yourself towards that goal that you want to reach. Because Matt and I like to joke, but we're only half joking, which means we're half serious, that we are acting and writing and drawing comic books because we were too useless to do anything else. We are the two of the biggest Peter Pans out there, but you know what? We managed to make our fandom and our geekhood kind of work for us. And so whatever it is you want to do, you can do it. It's just you have to maybe sometimes have more patience than the next fellow, and maybe Matt and I got extraordinarily lucky. We readily acknowledge that. We have plenty of people that we owe a lot to.
Yes.
But
and you can make your own opportunities by simply doing what you're doing well. There's that old saying. I mean, our favorite quote came from the Punisher when he said, "Do what you love, and it'll never work a day in your life." But the reverse of that is true. If you love what you are doing, if you put love into what you are doing, people will recognize that. If we had been sleepwalking through our reality TV work, then maybe Jody Hill thinks that we're just a bunch of drag asses, right? Maybe,
or if we had ducked work like PAs are stereotypically supposed to do on set, maybe David Latt doesn't give us that chance. He doesn't listen to us.
And so no matter what you're doing, it's worth doing well.
We will close with one of our anecdotes. This was when we were working at the movie theater in Austin, Texas. So we were working for Regal Cinemas, Arbor 7, and every quarter or something, they have like a they have a thing. You're supposed to push a certain type of candy, and it'll be like Twizzlers or whatever. Doesn't matter. We'll say Twizzlers. And you're supposed to sell it as a part of a candy combo. Things may have changed. It's back in 2000. But anyway, they were like, candy combos, sell them, push it, so forth and so on. And there was no real contest. There was no incentive for. It's not like whoever sold the most candy combos would get 3 hours put onto their paycheck, or they'd get a new Lamborghini. There was nothing like that. It was just, let's see who can make the most and sell the most. And so Matt and I kind of turned it into a competition, turned it into a game where let's see who can sell the most. And because we've seen Glengarry Glen Ross. And so we were just like, put me on the board. I sold a candy combo, all that stuff. But the fact that Matt sold a candy combo, which a candy combo was 2 medium drinks, a large popcorn, and you got the flavor of the month candy for free. The fact that Matt sold a candy combo to a single individual, not once, but on 2 different occasions to 2 different individuals, shows how putting your love into your work can really motivate you to really excel. And that was legendary, because even after we left the theater, like our friends who had stayed on for a few years longer were like, he was manager and he had some staff complaining, it's too hard to sell this. He's like, too hard? Bullshit! I have a friend, his name is Matt. He sold 2 candy combos to 2 different individuals. Okay, so if you're sitting here saying it's too hard, you're full of shit. It was hilarious because he was, channeling that Glenn Ross vibe. But we're not saying be abusive to anybody like that. But we are saying enjoy your work. Try to do your best, because if a job well done becomes its own reward, then suddenly what you want to do will come that much easier to you. There's so many people out there who sit there and say, oh my God, writing is so hard. It's torture. Every day I wake up and I hate everything I've written. And certainly, you're talking to the guy who re-outlined a story 6 times and is not using any of it. We understand how hard it is, and we're not downplaying that. But learn to put your love into what it is you do, so that when you do what you love, you will love it even more. And so hopefully we're not sounding too, overly romantic about, the creative process or anything like that. But we are lucky to be able to do what we do. And so we hope that maybe giving you some advice on how we operate might help others to achieve that same goal.
John and Matt, thank you very much for your time. This was great. It's great talking to you guys. It's great catching up with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you
so much for having us on your show. Oh, and to everyone, aloha.
Yes, aloha. Thank you very much. And also, John and Matt, I just want to wish you guys continued success with First Comics, and your continued success in show business as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then and I'm going to say, if for our listeners, if you are a new comic book reader or a lifelong comic book reader, please check out the Yuan twins, Lovetown, their series Lovetown, Serving Soups, and Inspector O from First Comics. Now, these trades and collections are available on firstpublishing.myshopify.com. And if you guys can't remember, just type in 1 and then First Publishing, and I'm sure the website will pop up from there. I want to thank Drew, the co-host of Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And I want to and the thing is, I want to thank, again, John and Matt, thank you very much. Like I said, it's so cool talking.
Our pleasure, really.
It is really
our
our
pleasure. Thank you for having us, really.
Thank you. And then finally, I want to thank you, the listener. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to this awesome episode. I just love talking to them. I really do. So until next time, guys, aloha.
Aloha.
Prepare yourself for Dork Day Afternoon, a brand new actual play podcast.
You performers! Oh, that's fun.
The brainchild of 2 brothers, spawned from their desire to crush the fictional hopes and dreams of their friends and loved ones.
You remember what I said about being a monster of a GM?
Someone has to be a monster, and the GM's the one who probably should be.
2 shows every week. On Mondays, coming to you from the end of the world, 2 past midnight, a Twilight 2000 4th edition campaign.
As if being in prison wasn't stress enough. War is hell, gentlemen.
And on Thursdays, the circus comes to town with Encore of the Lost, a playthrough of the Extinction Curse AP, written for Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Valiant, no!
What is it, Pumpkin? I'm looking at pumpkins.
Roll for initiative.
Natural 20 for a total of 24.
25.
You.
Dork Day afternoon. Listen, your life might just depend on it.